Welcome back to the It's Only Kids Football podcast, the show that helps parents and coaches come together to slag off their annoying kids while sharing their guilt and crying about all their parenting mistakes. Today we're talking about one of the characteristics we all want our kids to have, but it's something that goes over their heads while they pick their nose. A winning mindset. How do we help young players become mentally tough without putting them under unnecessary pressure? How do we apply the right amount of pressure? How do we build confidence, resilience, and a love for the game that lasts? Joining me are two brilliant guests, as well as my co-host and assistant manager, Mike Clark. But more important than him is former professional footballer and health coach, Damian Scannell, alongside mental performance coach and host of the Mind Fit for Football podcast, Michael Hilton. If you've ever wondered how to help your child bounce back from mistakes, deal with setbacks, and simply enjoy football more, this episode is going to be for you. So let's get into it. Damian and Michael, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
You want to go first, Damo? Or do you want me?
No, you go first, mate. You go first.
Age before beauty, yeah? I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, guys. I got a phone call from Damo yesterday, and I have been following you guys for a little while and watching what you put out there. I like your memes that you put out there and stuff. They're brilliant. They make me chuckle. But I'm doing really well and looking forward to jumping into this, guys.
Me too, man. I'm happy, man. The weather's good. World Cup's on. Man, so many positive things going on, and I'm here with three amazing guys. So let's get it cracking.
I appreciate that. But once we start talking about how annoying kids are, that mood is going to drop. But like a topic that we speak about a lot, and me and Mike, not just on the podcast, but we talk about it for the other dads, and we're always talking about like mental toughness, and it's a bit of a tricky subject when you're talking about kids, because what does that really mean to them? They haven't had life experience. How do they develop that? Their brain's still developing. They've got all these hormonal things they're going through, but we want them to be tough. I mean, I know I do. Like, I'm completely unrealistic in terms of what I believe their mental toughness should be. But what do you both think that really means for mental toughness for kids, and how should we as parents and coaches be trying to develop that with realistic expectations?
So I'll jump in there. Like, one thing I'd always say to remember, and this is something I have to remember, and me and Damo spoke about this on my podcast, is where I am now, that's 47-year-old version of myself, is very different to the version I was when I was younger. And I look at my boy that's 10, and definitely something that I want him is to be more mentally tough, more mentally strong. But I also have to remember that my version of mentally tough and mentally strong is very different to him and how he's experiencing the world. So for me, mental toughness is really, and this is what I teach the footballers that I work with, mental toughness for me is the ability to take back control of how you think, feel, and behave in a performance situation. And if you can narrow that gap between going into the red zone on the football pitch and only going from, like, if you look at like traffic lights is a really good way of looking at it, going from green, amber to red. If we can keep you in the green and amber and get you back down to green as quicker than you was before, then that's a massive win. And that's mental toughness for me. That's how I describe mental toughness.
I agree, man. I agree. Mike has delved into his own like scientific way of saying it, which is, I love it. For me, it's like resilience. Like, if I was to simplify it, resilience. And I think everybody, it's not celebrated enough being tough, right? It's good to be tough. And I think that's one of the problems, is like, we take our kids onto a football pitch and we're like, oh, toughen up, and right. But it's like everything in society at the moment, it's okay to be okay, and it's okay to be soft, and it's okay, like, it's a little bit of a contradiction. How we go about achieving it, like Mike was saying, man, it's like not necessarily how we went about achieving it, right? But yeah, I just think resilience is a key component to life, not just football, kids football, right? And it should be celebrated more. It should be like something that we look to embed in everyday routines.
Yeah, I totally get both of those points. It's really well articulated. And when I think of like toughness, and as a parent and as a coach, it's all about that kind of the mental toughness almost of yourself, like Mike, you said, 47 years old. Did you say 47?
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah.
You don't look 47, mate.
Thanks, mate. You'll get a Christmas card this year. Don't worry about that.
Well, listen, he jumps in, by the way. Don't let him give it all that, right? Yesterday, started slagging me for being bald on a call with a really nice American woman. So don't give it all that, right?
Ben, to be clear, you look 47. Mike doesn't look 47.
Nah, Ben, what's happening here? What's happening? Ben, you don't. I'm part of the ball club, Ben. You look about 24, bro.
Exactly. Don't take that from him.
I'm on the fringes of bald. I'm just hanging on to patches at the moment.
You're with me, Mike.
I get enough stick from the boys in my football team calling me Baldy. That's what they call me. Baldy, shut up, Baldy. The boys I coach.
I think mental toughness. I think we should make kids bald. All kids bald.
Wait, you know what? It's so true. I get shit every day. Everyone at work, even our football presentation, he bought a bloody bald cap and bought me a wig, right? It's just relentless. Everyone, it's a free-for-all if you're bald. Everyone can have a go at you, right? It does make you mentally tough. Anyway, right, moving on. Sorry, Mike, go back to what you were saying.
I can't remember what I was talking about now, but yeah, I think what I was saying is it's all about the mental toughness that you put on yourself as a parent to not get things wrong, and like you were saying, Mike, there to almost like stay level-headed, right, and not get into that red zone, but also just around applying that pressure to make your kids tougher, to have that learned behavior, to be resilient, to be tough. You have to apply some pressure, right? The balance of that, though, is something that I don't know if I currently do that correctly. Probably sometimes I do it right, sometimes I don't. Maybe sometimes I overstep, sometimes I'm too laid back. It's really difficult, and it's really hard not to beat yourself up about it. You're your own worst critic most of the time. But how do you guys balance that, putting pressure on your kids to make them more resilient, but not putting too much pressure on them so that they go almost the other way and resent you?
We're overthinking it a little bit to a degree, right? We're overthinking it because I think where parents are so heavily involved, and like a coach might shout at a child and he breaks down, and like I think people like over process the moment to it rather than the actual long term benefits to it all, right? Like Michael was saying, right? Like standing back, right? You want the kid to be tough in the moment, right? But actually, during the moment, sometimes be it crying and the response you don't want is actually the long term kind of like journey of it all, right? And I think where there's so many people involved in football now, right? Everything is over analyzed and over processed, and there's a lot of weak people in football as well, right? So like, especially when you people that haven't played the game are now heavily involved. You got a lot, especially like at the academy level, you got like a lot of boffins and know-it-alls, a lot of theory guys, right? Like they've not done tough things themselves, so everything they do is like they're spoiling the opportunity. Like kids crying, like that's part of it. Like kids getting shouted at, and like that's all part of becoming tough, right? You lot, like like why are we like? Why is it bullying? It's not bullying. So when people say overstep the line, like I'm not saying go and thump a kid in his head and say toughen up, right? But I'm saying like you telling a kid like, listen, shut up. I don't care you're crying. Get back out there, right? That's part of the problem. That's why kids aren't tough. These boundaries aren't necessarily about the kids. It's about the parents wanting to look like fucking politically correct.
There are times where I actually think that I might have like some sort of mental problem with the way that I speak to a 9-year-old. But more that I say to him, like what I'm trying to get to him, across to him, is that like I think that you want someone to be strong in the moment but reflective after, right? As in, I think being resilient is about being reflective and looking back on your behavior and trying to adjust it, whatever. But in the moment when something's happening, we ain't got time for reflection. You got to do what you got to do. And what I'm trying to say to my son or get across to him is like, when you can't be bothered to do something, there's another kid out there that can. When you're saying you're too tired and you're saying you don't want to do it, then there's another person. You're a kid now, but when you're an adult and all through your life, when you can't be bothered, when you don't want to do it, someone else does. And that someone will get ahead of you. And everyone's motivated on Monday, but are you motivated on Friday night? Are you consistent and disciplined on Friday night? And I don't care if you're tired, and I don't care if this hurts. And because when you get in the real world, the reality is no one else cares either. Because when you're competing for whatever it is in your life or trying to do what you need to do, nobody cares. They're going to go and fight for what they need. Like you say, that's in all parts of life. And that's what I try to get across to my son. And, you know, there's times I've told you before, like, I get a phone call from a missus. He doesn't want to go thingy, whatever tonight. And I'll get on the phone to him and I'm like, your choice, but I don't care that you're tired and I don't care that your arm hurts or whatever it is that you're saying. And no one else does either. You got to go and do it. And every single time, I feel like your breakthrough moments is when they do it and they realize that it's not that bad and they're not that hurt and they're not that tired and they can do it. That is like this realization moment. But you got to be a bit horrible to get them to that moment. You know, like I said this on another podcast recently. Matthew McConaughey said, like, to be a good man, you can't always be a nice guy. And I'm not like you, Darren. I'm not saying like bully or be horrible to a kid. I'm just saying in those moments, sometimes you've got to be a bit tough because then they have a breakthrough moment where they realize, you know what, actually, I can do this and I'm not too tired. So, yeah, I'm totally with you.
I think just adding to that is, so in that when Ben referenced that quote, it was with a lady called Laura Mella Buckman, and she said something that I thought really stuck with me, in that kids at the youngest of ages, you know, when they have a meltdown or they're crying about playing football or whatever it might be in life, that is the end of the world to them, and they're wired to think that is the end of the world. So, you know, if they can get through that, then they are really, really learning resilience. And that could be something so minor to adults. Then like he cried, he didn't want to play football, and then he got out on the pitch and he played and he had a great time. They are learning so much so quickly, so that when they grow up, they're just building on these skills. And I know that last time you came on, Damo, we were talking about like just building strong young men. I think sport plays a massive part to that, because it's so much ingrained into them and their brain development at such a young age, that I don't think people necessarily realise that you're building these massive skills that they'll have for their whole life, and actually getting them onto a pitch, if they've committed to it, can have a major benefit to them further down the line.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. Totally. And like what Damo said, like the most frustrating thing for me as a parent of a boy that's 10 in my team is he technically very good, but when it gets to the crunch, he will pull back. And I actually was at training last night, and I pulled him to one side because he wasn't putting much effort in. And that's the thing where I will, you know, get into him a little bit, right? I don't care how many shots he misses, anything like that. I don't care about that. But if he's not putting his effort in and the attitude, then I will get after him. And I said to him last night, I pulled him to one side. I said, listen, I said, just because I'm coaching this team, that doesn't mean you get a free ride. And I'm telling you now, you're in jeopardy of losing your place in this team. You're going to spend time, because we're going 9-a-side next year. You're going to spend some time on the bench if you do not start upping your effort. And I think for me, it's very easy being a coach of the team that your boy gets to play and even minutes and stuff like that. But you need to learn a lesson that not things are just given to you. They're not given to you. And I say that all the time. This isn't given to you because I'm coaching the team. You have to work for it. And that's down to you, whether you want that or not.
I'd love to add to that. You know what? It infuriates me, right? Is like, for example, school. Someone said that they'll say like, "Oh, don't say that to a child. Like, don't make him do it." So if your son wakes up for school and says, "I don't want to go to school," do you reason with that, or do you just put his trousers on and send him to school? Like, I don't get it, right? I don't get it. So there's benefits to sport outside of, or football outside of becoming a Premier League footballer, right? So for me, it's like it would be double standards not to push him, wouldn't it? Like I just don't get it. And the thing is, a lot of the time, the people that are saying don't push him, and this is what we have to be very self-aware of as like men in this space here, is that like the people that are telling you not to push him, we have to look at that, the standard of that person. Like, are they weak? You know, like, are they weak? Like, I don't want my child to be weak, not because I want him to be a Premier League footballer, because I want him to be a strong, independent man. I want him to be able to make decisions. I want him to be able to do hard things. So when people are saying like, "Oh, don't be so hard on him," right? I'm like, first and foremost, this is my child. I've built a relationship with him. I love him. I eat ice cream with him. So this is just a moment that I'm reminding him that he's very capable of doing this hard thing, right? And secondly, I don't want my child to be nothing like you. You feel me? Is that not? Does that make sense though? Like,
yeah. I do agree. You have to look. You have to, like everything. everything's got context, right? Like, so when someone says, "Oh, you don't have to work hard, you don't have to do that," I'm listening to that individual, and I'm like, well, that what you're basically saying, and this is how what I say to everyone: when someone's saying you don't have to work hard, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, or the odds are small of you making it to a footballer. Like, why bother? All I hear that individual say is, I don't think it's worth it. I don't believe I can do it. And they're just passing it on down to another person. I don't think I could work that hard. So you just have to take that with a pinch of salt when you're hearing people say it, because really what they're doing is reflecting their reality of the world onto a child. I don't think I could do that. I wouldn't want to do that. It's like the odds are so small to make it to the top in football. Yeah, well, that's it. But what are you going to do? Give up on your dream just because someone else has kind of told you their version of how they see the world? And it's like what Damo said, you just have to be really careful of who you're listening to.
I do think there's nuance to it, right? So, like, for people listening, like you said, I and Michael, I'm not having a go at being nervous. I'm not having a go at being worried. I'm not having a go at, like, if you make a mistake. Like, all of those things, I actually want a place where you can go and make mistakes and be fearless, right? We're trying to teach someone to be fearless, so go and make mistakes. No problem. Like, my son, I felt that we had a tournament recently and he just didn't show up in the final. And I was a little bit hard on him to begin with. But then when I asked him questions, I realised that he was nervous, right? He didn't want to lose. And those nerves got the better of him. Fine. You're 9 years old. Also, it happens to adults. Absolutely no problem. That is not being mentally weak. What we're saying is being weak is if you don't want it enough, if you don't try, if you don't, like, fight through, if you don't give everything, if you give up. It's all it ever to do is about attitude. To feel nerves completely, that is totally natural. And I spoke to my son and I related to an experience when I played when I was younger and I got really, really nervous and I totally froze during the game. And it's about trying to help him break through that. That's not mentally weak. What we're saying is weak is not trying, not giving up, not wanting it enough, not having the desire, not having the determination. That, to me, is mindset. Fail, do it, get it wrong, whatever, but just don't not do anything. That's the bit that I hate.
It's a weird conversation, right? Because if the same parent that says we're pushing our children too hard got a maths result and they said, "Oh, your son's not been working hard enough in maths," right? They went into their child and the child said, "Oh, I've been getting a bit nervous walking into the class." They'd be like, "I don't care how nervous you are, do maths." Like, right? They'd say it, right?
Yeah.
Then if you want to flip it back to us and say, "Oh, but it's only football. Football isn't maths," right? But there's essential life skills that I'm teaching my son, right? That are probably more important than maths, like self-efficacy, the ability to do something hard. Like, and as I said, man, like, it's so contradicting, right? To kind of downplay the importance of your son crying. You say, "Are you injured?" "No." "Why are you crying?" "Oh, it hurt." "Okay, get back up, son, and play football while it's hurting."
No,
It's true. Like, and when you look at, I'll get the stat just for later on in the chat, but it's ridiculously high of, like, the top CEOs in global organizations. The stat is massively high of those that have played sport, not to, like, the highest of levels, but have continued to play sport. And like you said, Damo, there, all the it doesn't have to be football. It just happens to be football most of the time for lots of kids in the UK, because that's the sport that they play. It could be any sport, any kind of team-related sport. You're building so many life skills off the back of that. Yes, with maths, you're learning a lot of skills with that as well, which is very helpful in later life. But with sport, it shouldn't be underestimated. There is a reason why, PE is a lesson taught in every school. They learn a lot from that, not just so they can go out and play sports with their mates. It's all of the life skills that they learn from playing with a team, leadership skills, resilience, the fitness aspect, which also shouldn't go underestimated. All of this stuff, it is downplayed. It's like the lowest element of down the pecking order of what some people view as an essential learning for children, but I certainly don't, and I know that we don't, and a lot of our listeners don't. They put that right up near the top because of all the additional skills that they are learning.
Quick break. Before we dive back into the episode, we want to take a moment to help you level up your coaching game with the help of Football DNA, the ultimate coaching platform that's been a game changer for us. What do we love about it? It's super easy to use, saves us loads of time, and best of all, it doesn't just show you how to set up a practice, it teaches you how to coach it properly. And that's the key. The sessions are put together by top level coaches. We're talking first team staff at clubs like Celtic, Crystal Palace, and West Ham. Proper pedigree. You get videos, diagrams, full explanations, downloadable PDFs, and if you need it, a full 36-week training plan tailored to the age group you are coaching. Our lads have loved the sessions. It's made our lives easier, improved our coaching, and taught us loads. Now we genuinely look forward to training and developing our players. Check it out at footballdna.co.uk. That's footballdna.co.uk, or you can download the app. Just search Football DNA. Trust us now and you'll thank us later. What we're talking all about here is you are applying a bit of pressure, right? It's good to apply a bit of pressure because you don't want, you get into life, guess what? There's pressure. Yeah, you don't leave school and then pressure goes, or like you don't step outside of these four walls of your house and there's no pressure. Life brings pressure. You have to learn how to deal with it. But I do think that depending on the personality, you have to get the balance right, the message right. It's all nuanced to that individual, right? So how do you apply the pressure of you have to give 100%, you have to work hard, etc. You can't accept being tired, you can't accept being in pain, you got to push through. That's that pressure. But how do you do that whilst maintaining confidence, right? Because my son definitely he has quite fragile confidence. And I would say probably when I was younger, I did as well. It wasn't like steadfast confidence. Things could knock me. I've only got more confident as I've got older. So what techniques and strategies can we use where we're applying the right amount of pressure to give everything, but we're not putting on too much pressure where it crushes their confidence?
For me, and this is one of the things that I have to work quite a lot with the footballers and the parents. So I hear a lot of things like low confidence, low self-belief, right? So parents will come to me, for example, and they say like, they're at academy, they need to step up, but they suffer with low confidence, low self-belief. Yeah. For me, they're looking to build. They come and say, I want to build confidence. I want you to help them build confidence, self-belief. Self-belief and confidence isn't something you build. It's something you draw out. Everyone has confidence and self-belief, but there's something before that that's blocking it. Yeah. So if we're talking about confidence and self-belief, we need to look at, well, what is the conversation that's going on in their head that's stopping them from accessing their self-belief and confidence, right? And when it comes to pressure as well, what is the story they're hearing about their self when pressure gets high, right? So I'll give an example. I had a boy referred to me. He was at Charlton and he was told he had low self-belief and confidence, right? And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell yourself it enough, you'll start believing it. And I soon found out that confidence, self-belief wasn't the issue. What the issue was is when pressure got high, he had a story in his head that was running. This is too much. I can't cope with this. So his brain would shut down because it's keeping him safe. He's telling himself it's too hard, it's too much, I can't deal with this. So his brain would shut down, his nervous system would shut down, and it would look like on the outside for people that are not really asking questions and finding out at a deeper level what's going on, oh, he suffers with low confidence and self-belief. So when it comes to applying that right amount of self-belief and confidence, you've got to, for me, it's very individual. It's very individual. Where is the kid at? How much pressure can they handle? Exploring what's going on for them. What's the story? And some of them are aware of it. Some of them are not. But applying that pressure has to be very individual. Like you can't just get a whole team of boys and apply the same amount of pressure to all of them because some of them will just shut down. My team, there's some that I can get under their skin a little bit. They'll rise to the occasion. There's some I'll try and get under their skin a bit. They will just shut down. And it's kind of, for me, it's very, like with my boys, there's two of us that coach a team. I'm very individual. I'll put an arm around their shoulder, talk to them. What's going on? Like, what's this? And I'll speak to them individually. Because if I speak to them as a collective, all of them experience pressure, self-belief and confidence in their own world. Hopefully that's explained that a little bit.
I think it has, and it's something that we grapple with and talk about all the time, Mike, is that, you've got to, most of the time, right, our audience are volunteer coaches. They've been thrust into this position. They've never coached kids. They've never worked with kids, but they're most likely a parent of a child in that team. And so they just, like we said on basically every single episode, we never demonize those coaches because they don't know what to do and they're learning and they're getting better themselves, right? But I think that kind of piece around man management almost, it is also overlooked because they're so young. You know, oh, do you need to take it that seriously? It's not taking it that seriously. It's like a fundamental part because they're all so different and individual. And I think one question I wanted to pose to both of you really is getting that balance right for the kids is obviously utmost importance, but also getting that balance right with the parents as well. If you go too hard with one kid and they shut down and the parent sees it, how are you dealing with those communications? Like how do you guys as coaches, as parents, on both sides as well, how are you trying to deal with that? Is there any tips and tricks that could help our audience as well?
I think, first and foremost, I think Mike's answer was unbelievable in terms of the confidence building. I don't think enough thought's put into individual profiles and where people are at. And I don't think it should be the coach. You're still not demonizing coaches. We need to have a look at parents here. Like, let's be honest. Like, these behaviors are learned at home, a lot of these stuff, right? So let's have a look at that, right? And not like, I'm not saying the parent's entirely responsible for the child's lack of confidence, right? But are they present enough and aware enough to be dealing with that? A coach has 1 or 2 hours a week, right? Max, right? So is what you're saying to the child, the expectations you're creating around the child, and then throwing them to a coach and saying, "Oh, he's not playing well," it's because you're beating him up for the week, right? But in terms of how I think things are based around agreements, right? So this evening I've got a group of 13-year-old boys coming down to my gym and I'm going to batter them for an hour, right? Yeah, I'm going to batter them. S&C. I think 6, 7 years old, I try to make it fun, push them. 13, I'm saying, life's about to hit you lot, let's get tough, right? I've briefed all the parents and I say, look, this is how I deal, this is how I talk. Like, this is me, this is how I do it, and I don't dress it up. And I say a big part of it is a psychological journey and I'm pushing them. Sometimes I'll push them more than probably what you would see elsewhere, right? An agreement. I tell them as early as possible, this is who I am. And I don't know if you don't see my content, I put it out in that way, right? I think the issue is especially like when you're doing like a Sunday football and that, and you kind of let in a group of general population, it becomes quite hard then because it's not so much a private space, it's a public space and there's societal expectations on how you should carry yourself. Right. But I think it's really important that we kind of make it a very human experience, go and speak to the parents and say, like, listen, I think little Johnny's, he's not tough enough, and I'm going to go and tell him, like, listen, next time, kick that boy up the bum, like that, or whatever it might be, right? But look, man, this is football, though, you lot. This is character building. It's not about reading notes from a book and expecting everybody to understand it, is it? It's about relationships. The better relationship I can have, the stronger bond I can have with my son, the harder I can push him. The other day I said to Mike, right? The other day, man, he's running him. I'm running him to death, you lot. I'm pushing him. He's crying. I'm thinking, hope his mum doesn't pull up. She's gonna lecture me. Right? He's crying, yeah. And then I've gone, you right? Do you want to stop, boy? Do you want to stop? Is it hard? He's like, Daddy, just blubbering. He's like, yeah, it's hard. I said, do you want to stop? He's like, no. I got goosebumps. Listen, I promise you, I didn't have to shout him. I just felt as though everything I'd done up to this moment, all these things I convinced him to do, right? He's believed in it. That doesn't happen by chance, though, you lot. This is me running. This is me talking to him in the morning. This is me reinforcing morals and values and beliefs. Does it always work? I guess not, right? But when we're talking about confidence and these things, like what Mike was saying, it's not just this read a motivational book or watch a bit of Kobe Bryant in the morning and now you're... And this is the
Mamba
problem,
mentality. I've got the Mamba mentality.
This is what parents want. Parents want this, right? Ben was saying it. He weren't confident, but he's more confident now. You know why? He said he's older because he's been through shit. He's got rough. He's learned that a bad paycheck doesn't mean the end of the world. But with parents, they want it instantaneous. They're not prepared to say, okay, Crew's different from Sky. What conversations do I need to have with Sky this week leading up to Saturday? What drills could I do? The more things you do to better yourself helps build confidence. It's a fact, you lot, right?
Mm.
You can't just turn up and put on, as I said, Kobe Bryant in the car on YouTube and then say, you're confident now. You've just watched Kobe score 3-pointers. Go and score a hat trick like Messi.
That's such a good point.
Why can't you be like that? Here, watch this
Yeah.
video. Why can't you be like that? That's it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or a lot of the time it'd be like you're driving them to a game and you'd be like, right, you got to be confident today. You got to give it everything, and then they don't, and you're like, well, I told you to give it everything. You didn't do it.
It's one thing that I say to when I'm working with the parents. I say, look, when you're telling a child you need to be more confident, you need to be stronger, you need to believe in yourself. Basically, what you're saying to that kid is you don't have enough confidence, you're not strong enough, you don't believe in yourself, and you need to. So then what they do is they start looking externally for that. And then that's why they're on this, like, it seems like they're on this roller coaster with confidence and self-belief, because they're looking externally. If the coach says I've played well, I feel confident. If I score a goal, I feel confident. If I don't score a goal and the coach says I don't do well, I don't feel confident, right? And it's one of the worst things to say. And I was having a conversation with a parent about it, and they said, well, what am I supposed to say? I said, speak empowerment to them. When you speak to them, say, look, I know how confident you are. I know how strong you are. I know you believe in yourself. And they go, well, what if they don't believe me? And I say, well, you just keep saying it, right? Because, look, however you like it, your child has been brainwashed into believing they don't have confidence, they don't have self-belief, right? And they're not strong. So brainwash them in the opposite. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to start believing they got confidence, they've got self-belief, and they're stronger. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Or don't. Just let them believe that, and you'll get the results of them believing that.
I think I always say to my son, like, you take confidence by doing. Like, you have to do it, and then you'll feel confident. So, like, it's actually funny. So, talking about this tournament, there was lots of these things that happened. So, in the tournament, me and Mike were saying before, we're looking at our sons, and I was like, these two don't, they're not feeling me a confidence today. Like, they're not giving me the vibe that they're on it today. And both of them had actually missed quite a lot of football through illness, being away, the heat wave. By the way, don't even get me started on the heat wave. Fucking cancelling everything. Anyway, right. So, like, genuinely, I was absolutely raging. So they missed a lot of stuff. And like what I found from my son, because when I spoke to him after, he said he hadn't played. Like he needs to play to feel his rhythm and like feel confident, right? And I kind of like that because I'm like, well, that means that like I know you should be confident. You want him to believe regardless, but I'm like he takes confidence from him doing, and that's kind of like that's a part of the puzzle that I want. I don't want him to like. Obviously, he does take confidence from like what I say to him and stuff like that. But I want him to realize that you believe in yourself because you do, and when you stop the doing. Not that I want that to stop, but what I'm saying is he connects the two, so that means he's going to keep doing the work, and that's kind of what I wanted of him. And then I told this story. I think I may have said it on 1 or 2 episodes now, but like the other day we're at training, we're doing this drill where you kind of like receive one into your feet and you play, then you receive one where you've got to receive it and you've got to check your shoulders so you've got your back to play, and then you receive one in the air, but you're playing 1v1 and it's one after the other. So as soon as the ball's dead, the next one comes in. So I throw this ball up in the air. And it's a little bit away from him, and that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be hard. I don't want it. You don't get the ball like that in a football match. He throws his arms up. It doesn't even chase the ball. Walks over. The thing is, sometimes I choose the wrong time to lay into him because like his mates there, and I was like, "You don't quit. You don't quit." I'll start going to him. How dare you quit? How dare you not chase the ball? And he gets angry and he's like, "Anyway, we're just going back and forth at each other." He's 9 years old, by the way. He's only 9. And then I threw the next one. Bosh! Smash this kid out of the way. Left foot zinger, top bins. Walks over, doesn't celebrate, absolutely fuming, walking towards me. I ran up and I did the Ronaldo celebration to him. He's not interested. He doesn't want to celebrate with me. And I was like, do you know what? I like that. Get angry. If you got to get angry to do that, then do that every single time. Now, what I will say, that don't always work. It does.
Mike, get Ben away from his son, mate. He just done a sue. Get him away from his son, mate.
It doesn't always work. But what I'm saying is like, sometimes, like, I don't know, like putting that pressure on them, it does work sometimes. Not all the time. And I would say over the 3 years we've been doing it, I've got it wrong. So I've got it wrong more times than I got it right. I've upset him more times than I would have wanted to. And I feel really guilty about lots of the things that I've done. And I kind of don't want to be seen, people listening to this, oh, like, it's a right old laugh. Yeah, you're being hard on your kid. That's a laugh and a joke. I'm making light of these situations. I have got it wrong, and I've been a bad dad and a bad coach lots and lots and lots of times, and I really, really regret that, and I hate that, and that's why I have these conversations. But at the same time, I do think there's this fine line, there's this balance of getting it right, and what you're trying to find is that sweet spot of being. Well, I think you spoke a lot about it, Damien, where you want them to know that it's okay to feel, and you want to talk about your feelings, and I want you to open up, and I want you to talk, but on the other side of that line you've got to be mentally tough. And I just think it's a really hard balance to strike, but that's why we have conversations like this, because we try to learn from each other and reach that point. From what you do, Mike, like what advice do you give to parents to say to their kids before and after, before, during games and after? I mean, especially on the after, but like, what are you advising them? They're not a coach, they're just on the sidelines, but they spend a lot of time with their kids. What are you saying to them about how they should manage their child?
So the kids I work with, it's about not teaching them what to think, but teaching them how to think, right? So then with the parent, it's like, maybe you don't need to say nothing before the game. Maybe you don't even need to say nothing after the game, right? Like, think about you just running a marathon and you stop, and then your wife comes over to you and goes, why did you let that person run past you? Like, what? That wasn't good enough. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this instead? Why didn't you go that way? Why didn't you do this? You'll be like, fuck off. I've just run a marathon. Give me a break, will you? And I just think, like, the mistake that I used to make before games, right? And again, it really does depend on the individual, right? I've got, for example, two sisters I work with. One sister, if we focus on anything outside of her control, she was shut down, right? And it's all about what she can control and what she can do and get her focused on that. The other sister, her mindset is when she goes out on the pitch, she'll look at the best player out there and she'll go, I am going to dominate that player today and I'm going to be the best on the pitch. If we don't raise the pressure for her, then she shuts down. So again, it's very unique and individual with the kids. But for me, like with my boy, I don't say anything now. And in the car after, he'll say to me, like, how do you think I played today? And I'll just turn it back on him. Well, you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think you've done? And he'll go, oh, 6. Okay. Well, what do you think was missing to get it to a 7 or an 8? Maybe I wasn't working hard enough. Okay. So what are we going to work on next time? So what I'm doing for me, and I have made plenty of mistakes, right? And I can't say that I am 100% perfect to this, because when he doesn't put effort in, I get disappointed, not for me, but I get disappointed for himself and how easy he gives up on himself. And that's my message to him. Like, I get disappointed watching you give up on yourself so easy. But those conversations is like reflective for him to think about what he's doing, because I can tell him, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. He probably doesn't want to hear it most of the time. And then most of the time, he's not really taking it on board for himself because our dad going on at me or the coach going on at me. So I like to turn it around and get him to reflect on what he can improve on and what we're going to work on next time. But again, there's some kids where you can get after them a little bit and get under the skin and tell them it's not good enough. And they will respond to that. And there is a time and place for that. It's a bit of a mixture of the carrot and the stick for me, knowing when's the right time to push and when's the wrong time to push. So on my podcast with Damo, I shared the experience when I was taking my boy, he was 7 at the time, my oldest boy, up to the top of Ben Nevis. He wanted to do Ben Nevis. And like, there was a time when I got down and I got in his face and said, stop pissing and moaning because you're doing my head in. Right, we've got a fucking long walk. I don't want to listen to you piss and moan about your legs aching. We're climbing a mountain. Your legs are going to ache. I said, so stop giving your pain a voice, right? Because you haven't broken anything. You're just aching. Number 2, be where your feet are. Stop looking at the top of the mountain and saying how much further we got, because that's driving me mad as well. So be where you. So I got after him a little bit, right? We got up to past the clouds in the mountain. The temperature dropped. It was cold. It was freezing. He could see nothing. And he stopped. And he looked at me and he started crying. He went, I don't want to go on anymore. I don't want to go on anymore. I want to go down. Now, I knew we was 15 minutes from the top, but I knew the approach at the bottom wasn't going to work for him. And I had to come from a different approach. So I got down on my hands and knees, not my hands and knees, but down on one knee, and I said to him, son, if you're done, we'll go down now. But if you've got just a little bit left in you, we're 10, 15 minutes from the top here, you're going to be at the top of this mountain. What an achievement for a 7-year-old kid. Look how many people have turned around and gone down that mountain, not because they've broken anything, but because their mental side of them's broken. That's what's beat them. And he went, okay, let's go. And he got to the top of the mountain. But if I would have tried that stick there, that would have worked for him. He would have gone back down. So I've learned a lot of lessons about this with working with footballers and my kids and all that. There's a time and a place to say, that's not good enough. You need to up your game versus, okay, arm around the shoulder, a bit more compassion.
I mean, that's a perfect almost analogy, let alone a live story that you actually had around not giving up. But for me, it's like a mixture of the absolute non-negotiables that you as a parent have or a coach have around, for us, it's like effort and it's attitude towards like respecting your other players and your coaches, right? That's like non-negotiables. If you overstep that line, we're going to come after you, right? And then the other side of things is around just that resilience you've got to learn as well, right? You've got to keep going. You're going to get down. You're going to understand that. You're going to learn from it. It's not always going to be pretty. But I think just on those non-negotiables, so that in that same tournament where with Ben's son, he was saying he wasn't kind of at the races, and my son wasn't almost at the races either, or he certainly wasn't at the races. They weren't bad. They were fine, but they were just like off it, right? But at the end, literally the last minute of the final, we conceded a goal and we ended up going on to lose the game. But there was a minute left, right? There was a minute left. The game wasn't over. That's when my son fully gave up, like fully gave up, and was like really upset, moaning. And that for me was like red rag to a bull in terms of like your non-negotiables went over the line there. And I just knew it in my head. Don't ever go at him yet. Don't ever go at him yet. Don't ever go at him yet. But I will speak to him about this. But it just balls over because you're just too emotional in those higher pressure situations. Like how do you stop yourself from doing that?
What are you asking? Like for me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So I'm quite aware of that in myself, right? Because we had a tournament 2 weeks ago, right? Semi-final. It was in a semi-final. We was drawing 1-1, and the boys, and I lost it, right? The boys, because I'm not perfect. What had happened is the boys were shutting down, and they weren't working for each other, and they're all standing around waiting for another individual to step up and take responsibility, and I lost it, right? I just lost it. I shouted at them all. I said, boys, this isn't good enough, right? This is not the level we play at, and you're all standing around waiting for someone else to do something instead of all mucking in and working together, right? So at that moment, right, my emotions got the better of me, and I shouted. But again, it wasn't shouting at an individual and screaming at him. I was shouting at the team collectively, right? And sometimes, like, you're going to get frustrated. I think the hardest thing is coaching your own son. I think that's one of the hardest things as a coach, right? Because we do have high standards for him, and 95% of the time I'm good with my boy. I used to be horrendous with him. Like, if you would have seen me 4 years ago, you'd have been, my kid's going nowhere near that team because of that coach. But I learnt my lessons from that. I learnt my lessons. I used to just lose it with him. And it ended up making football a really bad experience for him. Now, I pull him to a side when I'm not agitated, because I can feel myself getting agitated. I let myself calm down. I pull him to the side, and then I'll have a conversation with him. But listen, look, we're all on this journey. We're all learning. And I think it is especially hard when you've got a kid in a team and you're coaching them, and you can see that they're not quite putting the effort in, and you just want to grab them and shake them and say, come on, wake up. But, with my boy, that doesn't work, so.
Yeah, I mean, this whole podcast is really about father-son relationships and trying not to ruin their football experience. And me and Mike have come a long way from where we started, and we're definitely in a better place. But it's when in those moments of heightened emotion is when we kind of slip back into the old way of doing it. And one of the important things that I really want to get across, I keep stressing it, it's like, when it's not about being hard on them, it's about pushing them and driving them. It's not about being an arsehole. Like, I don't want people to think it's not a green light to treat your kid like shit and be an arsehole and be horrible to them. It's not about being horrible. It's about pushing them when they don't think they can believe, when they don't believe that they can do it, and helping them push through to the other side and showing them that everyone experiences doubt, everyone gets tired, everyone is hurt. But the people that get to the other side are the people to succeed. So that is what I always say to him. I will not accept anything else. Where I'll probably, where I think it's a fine line, where I find it hard, I'll be interested to know your thoughts on this, Damien. Is like, I think I can be quite unpredictable. So I'm actually very emotional. I am very like affectionate. I'm very loving. I mean, you can see I talk about my emotions. I'm pretty open with that, and I think I understand my emotions well. So on one hand, he looks at me and he'd be like, "This is a pretty emotional man. He shows emotions and feelings. He's affectionate." Oh, 10 seconds later, who the fuck is this geezer? He's an absolute psycho. Who is this psycho?
Hey, Mike, you gotta get him checked in somewhere, you know, Mike. You gotta have meds before the game, bro.
It's one thing. One thing I'm not allowed is I'm not allowed coffee before a game. I end up becoming the Poundland version of Antonio Conte on the sideline. Right? There's videos of me. I'm like the Poundland version of Antonio Conte on the sideline.
Quick one for the coaches and volunteers listening. If you're sorting kits for a grassroots team, you'll know the pain. It's never as simple as it should be. That's exactly why Discount Football Kits exists. They supply quality football kits at prices that actually work for grassroots clubs. No nonsense, no hard sell, just reliable team wear that turns up on time and looks the part on match day. From full team kits to training wear for growing squads, everything's built to make your life easier. If you're tired of overpaying or overthinking kits, head to discountfootballkits.com and get your team sorted today. Go Cardless makes collecting payments simple with automatic direct debit. Membership fees come in on time every month without watching parents dig through their pockets only to find a crisp packet or racing to the cash point while you wait in the rain. There's no more, I'll give it to you next week. You can just drop a link into your WhatsApp group and bingo, payments are sorted. It handles the admin too, automatically keeping track of who's paid, what's outstanding, and retrying any payments that didn't go through, helping your club keep a steady cash flow for pitch hire, kits, and equipment. You can even pause or adjust payments when families need flexibility, keeping your club supportive and inclusive. Go Cardless takes care of the money so you can focus on running great sessions and growing your club. Damien, how do you get that balance right as a dad? Because I know you feel like it's important to be able to talk about that stuff and showing your emotions. Like, we want men to be sensitive and emotional in what we're talking about. We're not talking about them not being that, but we're also understanding that there's a level of masculinity that is required when you're competing and when you're working hard towards stuff. So how do you get that balance right as a dad? How do you make yourself, as a dad, sort of someone that your son knows what's going to happen? Like, I think being unpredictable is a little bit my worst like personality traits. With my sons, I don't think I'm unpredictable in life. I just think with them I am, because then they're like, am I sitting there sometimes looking at them thinking, he's worried to speak to me. He's worried to tell me he's done something wrong. He's worried to say he's made a mistake. He's worried to ask a question. I think that unpredictability of me is what he looks at. How do you kind of get that line right between being emotional and sensitive and talking about feelings, but also being hard on them so that they believe in themselves, but they can come to you about stuff?
We're actually talking proper fatherhood now, aren't we, boys? Like, we're going into it, yeah. There's two things that I think like have kind of been a reoccurring kind of theme, and I think leadership, right? Leadership and role modeling is a way to educate mental health or pass forward mental strength, resilience, right? And I think growth. And what I mean by growth is when I share with my child and I'm vulnerable, right? I share with them also that I'm still moving forward, right? So I've lost games, I've had bad days, I've had bad money situations, right? But this has happened to dad, but I'm still moving forward and I'm making the right steps. And listen, talking it sometimes, this is what I mean by leadership. Saying it, right, and constantly reinforcing it with words isn't enough for a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old, right? They need to see. They need to see. So like, for example, you've had a rear up at your son 6 or 7 times now when you've apologized in a car on the way home, right? Like that unpredictability is now you. That's who you are, right? And it's now your responsibility, my responsibility, Mike's responsibility, right? To now go on a journey to ensure that there's a predictability, isn't there? You know? So we are here like kind of saying we make these mistakes, right? But if we're still making these mistakes and and this is the second, third year, it's not good enough, is it? It's not good enough. We got to take some responsibility now. So we're asking our children to be mentally stronger, but we can't take the piss out of them, right? So obviously, Ben, I'm responding to you, but I'm also talking to myself here. So a big thing for me, right, is okay, cool. My son, as much as I want to push him, right, is there any contradiction or is there any part of me being a hypocrite that's getting in the way of this message getting across? Right. And we're not just talking about that. I'm talking about my behaviors. Like I think the best way to educate my child, right, on mental resilience is by showing him. And that doesn't just mean physical feats, right? That's like communicating struggle and yeah, Dad, I struggled to have that conversation there with you. You know, I've actually said that to my son. You know, he's going through puberty at the moment. I'm like, whoa, 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 right, there's gonna have to be a bit of a back and forth conversation here. I've not had this one before, Sky.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know, so I think when we're having we're going on this journey and we're trying our best to kind of like feed them information is first and foremost, are we role modeling? Are we leading in that way
Mhm.
as much as possible? Are we actually doing that, right? Are we actually leading in that way? That's a good question, right? That's what I think. I think personally, if I'm not leading in that way, then to then expect my child to then go and be that way just because I've shouted at him is just it's very naive.
It's kind of like telling your kid not to be on the phone when you're on the phone, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
And could I share something? Because I know Mike said to me like, what do you? I kind of went on a bit of a story and didn't give the end part of with what I've done that's helped me and I continue to do to help me with this and like what you said there, Ben, where your unpredictability. The brain likes predictability. That's what it likes. And one of the things that I've used for myself and like I use this with my clients, but we can all use this as well, parents and that as well, if you're open to it, is something that I call negative visualization. A negative visualization where I'll just set a timer for 5-10 minutes, close my eyes, and I think about like the worst case scenarios happening, like my boy not putting in effort, right? Or him not running, or to say for a football sense, it could be anything. But then what I do from there is then I'll think about a solution to it because my brain's then got a predictability instead of reacting and responding to the situation. And that's what I use it for in a lot of areas of my life. But you can use it if you're a parent that's got unpredictability and you go from 0 to 100 like I can, you know, emotions take over. Like it's a really powerful tool to sit there and visualize the worst case scenario and then think about how you would like to respond to that and keep repeating that, right? Keep repeating that because the brain likes predictability.
You know what, Michael? Like, I've used that technique before, and what's funny is like what you and Damien have just said is basically like a solution to the reoccurring issues that I have, which is I set out what I want to be, and when I'm consistent with it. So what you were talking about, Michael, is like sometimes before games I would write this stuff down. I'd write down. I've messaged it to Mike before. Like when we've been worrying about a game, I'd message Mike and I go, think about the worst thing Raf can do, and then what are you going to do when he does that? And I'd do this and I'd write it down and I'd be consistent with it. Sometimes when I'd get the train home from work, I'd be anticipating what is going to happen when I walk through the door. Now I'm tired. I've left at 7 and I'm getting home at 8 o'clock. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then what if I walk in and they're arguing about something stupid? Like, what am I going to do?
Squishies.
Yeah,
Squishies.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just something like, I mean, like last night they were arguing over this. They had like the same toy, like it's the same thing they were using, literally the same thing, and they're arguing over which one's which. So it's like, I would be really good when I'm consistent and I do the thing. So if I'm asking my son to be consistent, can I be consistent? And so when I write the stuff down, when I listen to podcasts, when I'm mentally rehearsing what's going to happen, I'm good. But then what I do is I get complacent because I think I've cracked this now. Like I'm good at this now. I'm sweet and everything's good and I'm happy and my life's going well. I'm sweet as a nut. And then I stop doing those things. When it gets good, that's when I stop. And then I start doing the things that I do wrong again. And I've been absolutely, what you just said, I've been telling myself recently, I need to start doing that again. I need to start writing things down. And I haven't. And that's when I keep slipping. So having this conversation, being held to account, and Damian basically making me shit myself because he was telling me off.
Well, the thing is, it's usually like high performance isn't adding more to your life. High performance is about deleting things from your life as well, right? And we get these useful basic things that work really well for us, and then we start adding more and more and more and more, and forget about the things that were actually working. I know, well, let's go and try this now. Let's go and try that, and it's like like with us, with my son, if you pick something because he has his own mindset coach. And the thing that really stands out to him, because he asked me to do it, and I was like, "No, you need to go and have that experience with someone else. I'll sort that out for you." And he's and the one thing that really stuck out to him is like turn the TV over. Like when he's getting into a state, it's like remote control, turn it over, and that really works for him. I'm like, just stick with that. You don't have to add any more stuff in. That works for you. Use that. And I think we're all as human beings guilty of I need to add more in, and then our kids do it and we have a go at them for doing it, but we're doing it, right?
I think that's spot on. Like with my son, it's really similar. His is like deep breath, next action, which is like similar to like turning it over, right? And that's been his thing, and he really, really that like works for him. But then we get more guests on, and then I'm like, I'll be like, Raf, maybe like do the like change the channel or switch it over because that I've just had that when you overload them with too much stuff because you're overloading yourself too much at a time, then if you're overloading an adult's brain, like imagine what that's doing to a child. And that's not just with like mindset tools and techniques, that's like with different skills, with different drills, with different whatever it is, with different like positions on the pitch. They're having to think about so many different variables constantly, and it can overwhelm them. So a lot of the times where we get the likes of yourselves on, where we're understanding what's going on in a child's brain, what's going on in an adult's brain, and how to essentially behave appropriately based on the individual child. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. But I think Ben and all of your points around consistency, and that showing that consistency, like you said, Damo, is absolutely key. It's very easy, especially for an adult, it's working full time, get home, I'm not going to play with him because I'm knackered and I just don't. No wonder they then say the same thing. I'm not going to go out and play because I'm knackered. They've seen my dad do it. He's telling me, but he doesn't do it. I think you have to physically show them what you're telling them.
The last thing I would say, right, is for me, when I'm just with my kids, man, my thing is be patient, be empathetic. That's what I say to myself all the time. Be patient. They don't have to get it right now. Like, just be patient, Damien. I'm trying to like jump them forward to where I am with mental strength. I'm trying to jump. Like I get parents saying like, "Oh, I'm like, relax, man. Like, where was you at 30? Like, relax, be patient." And I think when you're patient, you can focus on the lesson to be learned rather than the result. Right? Like, has he gripped a part of this lesson? He done the runs. He put his effort in, and rather than thinking you didn't try your hardest, like, oh, I would have done that like this. Yeah, like just be patient, man, and just like compound interest. And these are young people; they're very malleable. Like, as much as I push my children, I push from a place of love. Like, as I said, man, it makes me emotional when they do things. When I was 30, man, I was out shoplifting. To see my boy turn up to a park run and just let him run off and he finishes it in 7 minutes, something. I'm like, be patient, man.
Absolutely. Me and Mike I've referenced it so many times. The thing I love about sport is you get to see them in like a real life situation where you're not in control. So they're acting like an adult, like you're seeing them be who they are in a really natural, Because when you play sport, right, there's no distraction. Like you are locked in. You're doing like that's one of the beautiful things about playing sport. It's different to like if you're doing homework or whatever. When you play sport, you're in the moment. You're living that present moment. You might be worrying about making mistakes or whatever, but you are in that moment. And then you get to see your kid operate in this world where they're being like a little adult, and it is the most beautiful, best thing. And that is why you get emotional when, like, often, like, say when we score a goal, we've got the VO, we score a goal. I quite often don't always look at like what the goal is. I look at the boys' reaction. So you know, like they run together independently of you and celebrate. Like they're creating this thing that you're not. You're part of it, but you ain't it. Like they've created their own little friend. They run together. They give each other a high five, or they stand on their own and they fist pump like that. And you see that, and that to me is like the stuff that's magic and the stuff that I love. Now, before we wrap this up, just one, if you have one piece of advice from both of you, from all your years of experience, both as like dads, as coaches, all the things that you've been through, you learned, the things that you teach and coach, what would you be saying to parents and coaches out there? And one piece of advice about getting the balance right between pushing them, but at the same time showing them that love, care, and affection to be themselves.
I would say, I'll go first, Mike, if you don't mind. I would say, I've probably said the one piece, but I'll go for something different. I say, grow together. Grow together. Look at the flaws in yourself as to why your child is not behaving in the way that you hope for. Grow together. Be patient enough to understand where your child is at mentally and physically, and seeing where you need to add to yourself to help your child grow furthermore.
That's brilliant. It wouldn't be too dissimilar to what Damo said, to be honest with you. Like, for me, it's always a reflection of me. So, like, I've got 4 kids in the house. If the house is loud, they're screaming and shouting and things like that in the house, which it normally is, you know, like, one, I pick up a football that's been at the bottom of the garden that's got the inner tube hanging out of it and all that, and all of a sudden the other 3 go, "Oi, I want that," right? And they're all fighting for it, right? You know the thing. But for me, I always do my best to reflect back on myself and say, what do I need to do to change to bring more calmness to this house? Yeah. So I look at that, like, because it's very easy to then start shouting at the kids and things. Oh, wait, but then I'm bringing more chaos to it. So with football and coaching, I'm always just trying to reflect on me. Like, what version does he need of me today? Does he even need me to say anything? He's not put no effort in today. Does he actually need me to say anything? No, he doesn't. There's other times that he does. There's other times like, and it's about me working on me. If that's any advice, and it's kind of like what Damo says, you know, it's about working on ourselves so we can show up better for them and know when they need to stick and know when they need the carrot.
And you know what I'd add to that is sort of a little bit what Damian said, and it's probably one of the few things that I'd say that I've been good at is showing that vulnerability. You talk about growing together, and Mike, you referenced that as well, and that comes from like being honest with your kid, being vulnerable, talking about what's happened, how you feel, why you do it, how you want to get better. You know, buying into the fact that you've both got to get better together and that you're going to do it together. And that vulnerability, I think, shows them that you're human, and being human doesn't mean that you're perfect, but you're, like you said, Damien, you're moving forward together, right? What are you going to do together to move forward? No matter how many times it doesn't go right, we reflect and then we try to move forward. And I think they're great lessons. You know, sometimes we get a lot of messages from listeners and they go, "Oh, I've messed up so bad," they're very catastrophic about it. I can be like that as well. But I say the best thing you can teach your kid is to go and apologize, explain, and then come have a plan forward, because that teaches your kid that when you do wrong, which you're going to because you're a person, as long as you say sorry, you reflect, and you try to move forward, then you're doing the right thing. This conversation was absolutely brilliant, and I think, Damien, I think I need a bit of coaching, mate. You've got in my head now. I'm absolutely rattled.
You need meds. You need meds. Get him meds, bro. He needs to be tranquilized before a game, bro.
He needs some electric fried for his brain, like the old school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Look, we're all human beings, right? We're all human beings, and there's like what you said there, the vulnerability. Like when I make a mistake, I apologise. You know, if I spoke to my boy out of term after I say I'm sorry the way I spoke to you there, like that wasn't good enough, and I slipped. And it's having that humility to do that, because that shows them that it's okay to make mistakes. You know. That humility.
Exactly. Like you're not perfect, and you don't expect them to be perfect. You're both going to mess up, but it's just how you communicate that together and how you move forward.
And one other thing is that the best results I get with my clients is when I'm vulnerable with them and share. Like when they're struggling with something, and I share like my struggle. Like, yeah, I struggle. Like I'm not perfect. I've been doing this 18 years. I've been like coaching, learning about mental performance and stuff. Like I make mistakes, and I'll share that with them, and it makes them feel human, because it's very easy when we're making mistakes to think that we're the only one doing it. Right? That we're the only one that makes the mistake.
I know people are going to love this conversation. Where can they find out more about you? Where can they contact you, reach out to you, etc.?
Mine would be Instagram at MindFitForFootball. That would be the best place. On there, you'll easily be able to get hold of me on there. That'd be the best place. I don't really read emails too much, so I won't give out my email address. But yeah, just on there and DM me if you've got any questions or anything. Yeah, that'd be the best place.
Super Dad Damo on Insta.
You will get some lessons there, child or parent. It ain't PG either. You better be ready for it.
Yeah, PG. The amount of people I've had that's listened to our podcast, Damo, and they've gone, I think I need a Damo in my life. I mean, they're like he's a bit raw, isn't he? Like, I think I need a Damo in my life. I was like, yeah, but have you got the balls to get Damo in your life? That's the thing, right?
I might set my alarm in the morning to this Damo saying, "Wake the fuck up, get up."
You know what I want to see? I want to see you lot's VO of Ben. I want to see a VO of Ben ranting and raving on that sideline.
No, you know what? Listen. This God's honest truth. Just before we go, is I do obviously like well, Mike, you can maybe attest as well. I do obviously. I try to make you laugh and stuff. So like I exaggerate a little bit. I would say that, don't get me wrong, across the 3 years, there's been times when like I've absolutely shouted and embarrassed myself 100%. But I would say, well, I'll let Mike. That ain't really happened this season. And that has only been through conversations with people like yourselves that's helped me.
Yeah, I mean, he's been arrested 3 times for it, so I think he's now learned his lesson. Yeah. But no, everyone's the same, and you guys would be the same as well. You know, that first season, that's why we say we'd never demonise. You're thrown into this situation, you do go bananas, and then the more seasons you have with the kids, and the more you are confident in your own ability to coach and what you're like on the sidelines, and how your relationship with your kid gets better as well and progresses. It does get better, but you're always going to have slip-ups, and that is ultimately the fundamental crux of everything that we do, and most of our audience go through that exact same thing. So this conversation's been superb. Everyone's going to learn a lot from it. I really, really appreciate you boys coming on.
Yeah, appreciate having us on, mate. Thank you.
And anyone who knows me, do not message Damo and tell him what I really like. Okay. So anyway, huge thank you to Damian and Michael for coming on the show and sharing all that great advice. The biggest takeaway: confidence, resilience, and a positive mindset aren't built through constant praise or constant pressure. They're built through support, patience, encouragement, and allowing children to learn from both success and failure. As parents and coaches, we have a massive influence on how children experience football. Let's make that experience one they look forward to every week. So try not to give them the hair dry in the car when they've had a stinker, because remember, it's only kids football. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. And if you want to check out our previous episodes, just click here.